Well, there's a very real possibility that the Winter Olympics could be coming back to the Intermountain West. Announced this week, the U.S. Olympic Committee has selected Salt Lake City over Denver as America's candidate for a future site, potentially in 2030. Mark is here with some perspective on this. And Mark, you've covered 4 Winter Olympic Games over the past 3 decades. What would it mean if the Olympics, for Idaho, I should say, if the Olympics were ever to come back to this region in 12 years?
Well, Dee, it would mean a lot of things, obviously, all of them positive. But to answer that question, I need to take you back to 2002. Salt Lake City, of course, the talk of the world in that February, as it served as the city for not only one of America's best performances in Winter Games history, but also the most profitable Winter Olympics in history. Salt Lake Organizing Committee ended with a surplus of $40 million, which has been used to maintain and operate the venues, which they claim are in better condition now than when the games were held. Now to the Idaho impact, and it involves that man, Dirk Kempthorne. Back in 2000, then Governor Kempthorne organized an Idaho Winter Games Committee to explore ways to capitalize on the massive tourism, the opportunity that the Salt Lake Games posed. And he also commissioned an Idaho Olympic Games needs assessment to explore the notion that Idaho could make a bid for the 2034 Olympic Games. Not much came from that other than a seed that was planted in the minds of state and business leaders that it might be feasible someday. But what did come from it was an Idaho tourism booth in the heart of Salt Lake City that turned out to be a popular stopping spot for many tourists and media who ended up coming to Idaho either immediately after the games to visit or in later years with their families to check out what the Gem State has to offer. Turned out to be a really nice bump for Idaho winter and summer resorts and areas in the following years. And Dee, getting back to the Idaho Olympic Games assessment, I still have it. It's right here. And on the cover, I'll read it to you. It says, "Imagine dozens of different winter games at 10 locations spread between Sun Valley, Bogus Basin, Boise, Nampa, Cascade Lake, and McCall." And today I called Doug Armstrong, who was on the committee, to see how serious they were about the possibility of Idaho hosting the Olympics someday. And Doug told me the committee was really about capitalizing on tourism that Utah brought to the region. He said he believed then and still believes now that Idaho could someday make a strong case for a bid, given our facilities and venues and population. And all it would take, he believes, is for someone like a governor to pick up the torch and lead a charge. So, Governor-elect Little, are you watching? Are you listening? Let's see if someday we can make this happen.
You know, Mark, you've covered so many Olympics and you know a lot about Olympic history. It's not always, we think of it in the U.S. as being, you know, in a big city, but worldwide, it's not always in a big city, is it?
In fact, the population of Salt Lake City in 2002 was 1.7 million. It was the largest city to ever host the Winter Olympics. You got to think that we'll be about a little over 1 million in 2036.
Yeah, boy.
Possibility.
Well, we'll see. See if another seed has been planted. Mark, thanks. That's great perspective.